discussing differences among the ASEAN leaders. The second aspect of these ASEAN meetings is the meetings with, like this morning we had the meeting with the ASEAN +3, which are Korea, Japan, and China. And we also have separate meetings with each of those countries, as well as the United Nations representative, the Secretary General. So in this year, the discussions with the world at large, represented by these countries, as well as the United States, which will be this afternoon, I think the main goal is to remove uncertainties that are plaguing the international community and are a drag on the growth rate of the world economy. So I think those are the two aspects of these ASEAN meetings, and I'd be happy to take any questions you may have on them.
Thank you, Secretary. Reminder, everyone, please limit your question to one and one follow-up due to the tight schedule of the Secretary. Now we will move to the Q&A. First question will come from Joan Villanueva of Philippine News Agency.
Any new commitments from China regarding the Philippines Infra Program, since reduction of poverty is also part of the ASEAN Summit topics?
Well, with regards to our discussions with China, Philippines discussions with China, they were not taken in specifically here because we just had meetings. The President had a meeting with Vice Premier Hu Chunhua, as well as the economic ministers in the Philippines met with the Vice Premier as well. On the items here, I think the biggest item that the ASEAN discussed with China is the proposal to remove one big uncertainty, and that is the uncertainty in the South China Sea. And the idea was essentially to push for the completion or the finalization of the Code of Conduct. And I think that was the big item in the agenda between China and ASEAN. But definitely it was not the only item. The cooperation in trade, the confirmation of open trade and fair trade between China and ASEAN was also high on the agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Joan. Next question, Agence France Presse.
Hi, my name is Tanaporn from AFP. I would like to ask why President Duterte and other ASEAN leaders do not attend the ASEAN-US summit.
I'm not really involved in that, but my guess is that the leaders will attend the meetings when their counterparts are here. So they attend when their counterparts from the +3 nations are here, but when it's not a leader, I think, and it comes up on a ministerial level, I think the ministers will take care of that. It's just a matter of proper balance.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Yuan Mengchen of Xinhua News Agency.
Okay. Good morning, Secretary. You just mentioned increasing the connectivity is a major issue that the ASEAN leaders talk about during the summit. We have noticed that yesterday China and ASEAN issued a joint statement on synergizing the Belt and Road Initiative and the Master Plan on the ASEAN Connectivity 2025. So we believe this is an achievement. As China is a partner of ASEAN's infrastructure building and connectivity, can you tell us what's the importance of synergizing the BRI and Master Plan on ASEAN Connectivity 2025? And there's a cooperation between China and ASEAN.
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, our goals as an ASEAN group are to reduce poverty. In fact, the other positive way to put it is to increase prosperity of our peoples, as well as engage in sustainable development. You know, we are among the areas in the world that will suffer most from climate change, and definitely enhancing the cooperation and connectivity with our very large neighbor is essential to achieving those goals. And of course, the agreement between China and the ASEAN nations was to continue and improve the cooperation in all the fields that will improve people's standards of living and improve the possibility of sustainable development and address risks of climate change.
Okay. Thank you, Yuan. Next question, Joanna of Asahi Shimbun.
Good morning, sir. One of the bigger issues that ASEAN is tackling is about the South China Sea. And currently, there are differing views on how we should tackle it. One side, particularly Vietnam, would like to mention specific incidents and have it included in the joint leaders' statement. Of course, the other side would rather have a more general statement. How about the Philippines? What's the Philippine position on this? Is it more beneficial for everyone to mention specific incidents, or we just, be more general?
I think the goal is to remove uncertainties in the South China Sea. And really, to remove the uncertainties, it is very important to have the code of conduct agreed upon by all parties. We have to realize that the South China Sea is a very important sea lane, not only for Southeast Asia, Japan, Korea, but even more important for China. A lot of maybe 80% of their trade passes through there. So the removal of uncertainty is definitely the major goal. Now, how that is to be achieved, whether we will go into great detail mentioning specific incidents or not, is really subject to discussion among all the parties. I think just off the cuff, I think it's very important that recognition of past incidences have to be referred to. I don't know if they have to be referred to in the body of the agreement or maybe an annex, but definitely examples of how uncertainty has been increased have to be taken into consideration.
Thank you, Joanna. Okay, next question, Cliff Vinson of Nikkei, then Russia Today, then Kyodo, and Manila Bulletin.
Hi, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good
Cliff
morning.
Benson from Nikkei. Sir, medyo a bit domestic topic. Sir, any fresh indications with regard to the Q3 growth?
That's supposed to come out
Yes, sir.
on Thursday yet, and I'm sworn to secrecy, so I cannot reveal. In fact, today they're going to announce, is it today or tomorrow? Mm-hmm. They're going to announce the inflation rate, and then on Thursday they want to make sure that their computations and their numbers are very accurate. So But we're all hoping for the best.
Yeah, some analysts have predicted recovery, meaning to say better than the first 2 quarters.
No,
Do you
definitely that's going to happen because our spending did ramp up in the last the third quarter. We haven't quite caught up yet. I think we're about still 5% short, but we're getting there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Cliff. Russia Today.
Sir,
Yes.
what would be the latest take on the RCEP? Okay, we're hours before the summit now, but what's the latest news from that area?
I think they made a lot of progress in this meeting. I'm not directly involved in the negotiations, but we were consulted and informed, updated by our trade minister, and it looks like there's a general agreement among the majority of the members that RCEP indeed is a good project and that it's time to end the 7-year discussion.
Okay. Next question, Kyodo News.
Actually, my question are as same as his about ASEM, but may I ask in detail of that. Does every country agree to conclude the ASEM, including India, and whether they agree to decrease tariff, trade in goods on tariff at the same rate, or is different?
As I mentioned, that's really the field of my colleague. And that looks like, as I said, the vast majority of the members have already come to the conclusion that RCEP is a good project, and the sooner it's ratified by all members, the better.
Okay. Next question, Manila Bulletin.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, has the absence of U.S. President Trump affected at all the reliability of the U.S. as an ASEAN partner?
The absence of President Trump basically he's missed. I don't think it affects the view of the ASEAN about the reliability of the U.S. For reliability, we had better look into their actions rather than into their presence.
Okay.
But do you think President Trump should put more importance to the ASEAN and attend future regional summits?
That would be nice, but I suppose he has other issues that he has to address, and most of them are domestic at the moment. I think he has a slight problem with the legislature there, so let's allow him to make his choice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jen. Next question, Bloomberg.
Thank you, sir. Our question is, so, 1 second. I'm sorry.
Okay, 1 second is up.
Sorry. Philippines said spending rose 39 year-on-year, which is the fastest pace in more than a year. Given that improvement, are you excited a rebound in the third quarter GDP growth? And what is your estimate for the third quarter? Thank you.
Well, as I said, may I quote my countryman from another news agency? He said the predictions are that the growth in the third quarter will exceed those of either of the first or the second quarter, and I believe that's most likely because the figures that we have announced on spending are actually show that we have already ramped up our spending and have basically almost caught up with our plan. You know, people are wondering why government spending, which is only 20% of the GDP, is so important. It is because it is it stimulates the economy. it creates jobs, it provides infrastructure and connectivity for people, and that's why our spending program is very, very critical.
Okay. Next question, Akiko of Asahi. Then ABS-CBN, Vivian.
Good morning, sir. If I may ask, how is the health condition of President Duterte, since you are the close friend of President? I'm worried about his health, and this morning's absence is not due to his health problem, if I may confirm. Thank you.
No, he's fine. He's fine. He's in good health. He's in good spirits. And I think the slight delay this morning had to do with a call of nature.
Thank you, Akiko. Next question.
Same as me, incidentally. I was even later than him.
Thank you, Akiko. Next question, Vivian of ABS-CBN, and then Business Mirror.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I just wish to ask for your fearless forecast for the GDP in the country. For the fourth quarter, do you think we will hit the target for full year 2019?
Fourth quarter?
Fourth quarter, and then if we will hit the full year target.
Well, we will certainly, we are certainly in a very good position to hit the lower end of the target of 6 to 7% this year. Lower end, unfortunately, because we had a 5-month delay in the approval of the budget, and also we had the problem of the law that does not allow us during election period to start new infrastructure projects. That resulted in an underspending of close to 1 billion pesos a day in the Philippines. And definitely the investment in our infrastructure suffered because of that. Again, I'm very happy, though, that this Congress now, headed by Alan Peter Cayetano, has approved the budget very early, and that I'm pretty sure that the Senate will concur and give their approval as well within this year.
Thank you, Vivian. Business Mirror, Bernadette Nicolas.
Hi, sir. Good morning. May we know what is the agenda in the bilateral meeting between President Duterte and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe later? Are we expecting any form of assistance from Japanese government in terms of new trade and investments, loans, defense, or even aid for Mindanao quake-hit communities, sir?
I'm sure that the Japanese Prime Minister will express his condolences for the people who were injured or died during the last earthquake, and I'm sure they will. We hope that some assistance will be provided. But essentially, our relations with Japan, both for our infrastructure projects, are on track, and we make sure of that by regular scheduled meetings between the economic team in the Philippines and the Office of the Prime Minister of Japan. We meet with them every 3 or 4 months. In fact, our next meeting is scheduled for December. And we meet once in the Philippines and then once in Japan. And this type of coordination has improved has accelerated the implementation of of approvals of the project and the implementation of the projects. So I'm not sure if there are any new initiatives, but most likely they will confirm that we are on the right track, and it will confirm that the projects will push through, and that the financing from Japan is available.
Thank you, Bernadette. Next question, Ian Cruz of GMA 7.
Hi, sir. Sir, can you inform us what happened during the ASEAN Plus 3 summit? What was the center of discussion, sir?
Again, the center of discussion in the ASEAN Plus 3 was the commitment on both sides to enhance the cooperation between ASEAN and the group represented by China, Korea, and Japan. As I said, the goals are very similar: reduction of poverty, improving standards of living in ASEAN, and moving ahead with our very large trading partners. I think those three countries probably together are the largest trading partners of the ASEAN as a whole. So it's very good that we continue to cooperate and to affirm that our direction is correct, although sometimes you need some minor corrections. But basically, it's been a very the primary goal of continued and synchronized cooperation is very important.
Thank you, Ian. Another question from Bloomberg.
Thank you. Again, our second question is, do you share central bank governor's assessment that the central bank has done more than enough in cutting key rate and the bank's reserve requirement ratio for the year, and that a pause is warranted? Thank you.
What's the question?
Do you share central bank governor's assessment that the central bank has done more than enough in cutting key rate and the bank's reserves requirement ratio for the year?
I believe that at this point in at this point in time, the central bank has been very proactive in reacting to the drop in our inflation rate. It has dropped very significantly. In fact, I was looking through history, and it is this administration that was able to reduce the inflation rate the fastest of any other administration in the past that experienced a spike in inflation. And a lot of that has to do with the coordinated action between fiscal and monetary policy. We are working totally in sync with the central bank, and we consult with each other very regularly. In fact, our offices are 2-minute or maybe 5-minute walk from each other. So and I'm a member of the Monetary Board as well. So we are totally in sync, and we are sure that the central bank has taken the right action. Although, let me just say that there's another 100 basis points that we're still over the low interest rates that we have had. So there's still a ways to go. But as of now, it's sufficient and will do the job.
Thank you, Bloomberg. Question? Akiko of Asahi.
Thank you so much. One more question about South China Sea. So the chairmanship of ASEAN will be handed to Vietnam next year. What do you expect the discussion of the South China Sea will progress next year? Because Vietnam has been quite outspoken these days for the wrongdoing of certain countries in the area. What do you think about it?
You know, from the discussions today, I mean, there's a commitment that they want to accelerate the completion of the discussions on the Code of Conduct. And I'm sure that under the leadership of Vietnam, this goal of achieving finalization or progress in the Code of Conduct will be made rapidly.
No more? Okay. That concludes our press conference with
Thank you very much.
Secretary Dominguez. Thank you, Sec, and thank you to our friends from the media.
Thank you very much.